So the recent Nintendo Direct announced a lot of games, but the one I'm most interested in is Super Mario Party Jamboree. If you don't know, this is a sequel to Super Mario Party, but with more of a classic Mario Party gameplay, and from the trailer it looks amazing. But with the trailer only being 2 minutes long, there is a lot that I missed on my first watch through. So today I'm going to be analyzing the entire trailer to point out everything I and probably you missed. So the trailer opens on a large shot of these islands with Kamek flying in, which shows that he is likely the host. You might think that Toad and Toadette also are, with this being a sequel to Super Mario Party, but no, they are actually playable, which is very exciting. This sadly means Kamek is not playable, but I mean, someone has to be the host, so I guess he works. So the overall theme of this game is that you're on an island resort, and here we can see many of those islands. We get a more detailed look at those back ones later, so I'll just focus on this middle one. This is clearly the hub, or at least the mode select. You can see 5 different modes, and possibly a 6th one in that podium. I would assume the podium is the boards, and the other ones are side modes, and maybe settings and stuff. The only one that I know what it is the music note one. That is clearly the rhythm game from Super Mario Party. We can see unique rhythm minigames later on, which prove this, and if you look closely, it is 2 rectangles, which are likely speakers or amps, with a music note in the middle. I'm not sure what these other modes are, but I could take a guess that the TV screen with a crown on it is the Cathlon mode, it being the massive online multiplayer one, but for the other ones, I have no idea. In this next scene, we get a look at all of the surrounding islands. So here you can see the 4 selected characters along with a yellow toad flying on a hot air balloon towards, I assume, the hub island. And in the background at the start, we can see a large city with a Bowser statue and a platform with a cannon and bombs. Now we see later a mode with these same bombs and this same cannon, so it's fair to assume this is its own mode. We next see some floating islands, which we know are their own separate mode, which again we see later on. And next we see these 2 buildings. Now I have no idea what these are. These could be separate modes, or they could be just buildings representing like settings and something. One of them is clearly a restaurant, and the other one is some sort of whimsical factory with colors. And finally, we see the entire island with all of the boards represented on it. Starting on the far left, we have Goomba Lagoon. This one's the most obvious with the Goomba volcano. In the background, we have Mario's Rainbow Castle, but I'll get back to that one. Next, we have Wiggler's Tree Party, and then Roll'em Raceway, and then Mario's Rainbow Gallery, and finally we have 2 on the right. This one is clearly Western Land, and I assume this one is Bowser's Castle. Now, if you look at both of these ones, they appear to be under construction, and if you look at Mario's Rainbow Castle, it does look very similar. So this could imply that all 3 of these are unlockable, which would be a really cool thing to work towards, so I hope that's true. If that is Bowser's Castle on top of the mountain, then this cave could possibly be an entrance for it, or maybe another mode. We then see a shot of Goomba Lagoon. This doesn't really show us anything that we won't see later, but I will focus on this star here. There appears to be no one holding the star. It is just floating in front of a space. Now, this probably means this is what they look like in-game, but it could also be hiding spoilers, so it might be a host that we don't know about yet, either a returning one from a previous game or a brand new one. We then see this dock hub area. My theory is that this is where you select the boards. You'll notice there are only 5 docks. I think these 4 smaller ones are the main boards that you start with. This long dock has the 2 possibly unlockable retro boards, and this cave over here has Bowser's Castle. Now you'll notice 2 of these docks have types of boats next to it. This one appears to have 2 boats for 2 people each, and this one has 4 submarines. So this could imply that these are different modes for the boards, like 1v1v1, v1, 2v2, and some other ones. but I'm still sticking with this being the board select, just because the number of things here makes sense to me. But feel free to drop your theories in the comments. One last thing, we can see Boom Boom and Lakitu just sort of chilling here. This could imply that these are characters you can play as, which could be possible, but they also could be NPCs in this area. Here we have a spread of some of the characters. Now you may be wondering, how do I not know these are all the characters? Well, we see multiple characters later on in game that aren't shown here. So I believe those are unlockables and these are the starting ones, but these also just could be some random characters. The only notable inclusion here is Birdo, who is not in Super Mario Party, but was in Mario Party Superstars. Some notable exclusions here are Diddy Kong, Hammer Bro, Dry Bones, and Pom Pom, which were all playable in Super Mario Party. Next we have this short shot of Mario's Rainbow Castle. The notable thing here is that the board overall just looks sort of different, with the clouds being on separate heights. Now, I'm not a huge expert on Mario Party 1, so I don't know how the board works in general, but the spaces are pretty much laid out the same, with some new spaces added and some spaces moved, which is similar to how Super Mario Party did it. Now, in the original board, if you get to the star, if Bowser's there, then you get a star spelled with a Z. It's unclear if those are in this game or not, but it is clear that Bowser is here. In the original, he was not just standing on the back of the tower, but now he is, so that's pretty cool. You can see Mario coming into the area on a cloud, which could mean that that's how you enter the board in a cutscene, or maybe that's part of the board. You move like that. Also, on this board, a yellow toad gives you the star, but it's unclear if he does that on the other boards. The next scene is of Mario's Rainbow Gallery. This is, in my opinion, the coolest new board. It followed a basic tiered design connected by escalators and an elevator in the middle. Now, I have a lot to talk about in this one, so this might take a while. The best shot we have of this area is this large one here. And basically, the idea of this one is each of the escalators is a one-way. Blue goes down, pink goes up. There are shops on each of the floors that seem to represent all of the different things you can do. There's a boo in the top left. There's 3 stars on this red shop on the left. There's 3 sparkles on this yellow shop on the right. There's a Boo Bell shop on the bottom right. There is a shop labeled 4th on the left. There is a basic item shop on the second floor on the left. There is a mysterious box with a toad next to it on the second floor on the right. There is this Koopa shop right at the beginning. There is this Kamek Run item shop here. And there are these 4 boards with clouds and balloons next to them spread out throughout the board. It's unclear what these do, but we do see in a minute that these have 4 stamps on them, one of which is done here. This green one also has a coin on this green balloon. It's unclear if they all have coins or if that's specific to that one. Now back to that yellow shop and that purple Kamek Run shop. These are most of the boards, and I believe they are a shop for items that will help you and a shop for items that will harm others. But they could also just be 2 normal shops or some other theme. Now that elevator in the middle, I am not sure how it will work, but it does seem to show that the elevator is on floor 1, which could mean you can only use it if it's on that floor that you're on. After this, it talks about a flash sale, which will make the star half price, but it also shows this specific shop when it says that, which could mean that the shop also is half price. And this is also the first time we see the game's HUD, which has some interesting new elements. Each player icon has 3 item slots always visible that can be full. These 2 items appear to be the custom dice block and the warp block, which will likely work the same as it did in Super Mario Party and Mario Party Superstars. There are also these 2 indicators here, one for the flash sale and one for a battle minigame. Now we see this again later. I'm not sure what it means since we're not in a battle minigame right now, but these seem to be indicators on what's going on the board. This is cool because it's sometimes hard to keep track. this being a party game. You can see above Ninja here, which by the way is a playable character, that there are reactions you can use, which will likely work the same as it did in Mario Party Superstars, where there are stickers you can put on screen that play a little sound effect, and all have a corresponding word. Next, we have the board Roll'em Raceway. On this one, these spaces are large and everyone is on separate small race cars. Now, we don't actually get a full shot of this board right now, but we do have this convenient map here, which does show the full board. It is basically a loop with this little area next to the starting line and this bridge here. Now you notice this does not seem to have a starting point. You just sort of appear here next to the starting line. Now, if you haven't noticed, all the other boards, including the ones in Mario Party Superstars, have a green space you start on that you can't go back to. So this one could have one that we just can't see, or you could just start behind this starting line. Now, one thing you'll notice is this yellow sign that shows some sort of trap, but there are no happening spaces on the light gray part in front of it. Now, we know from later in the trailer that happening spaces do appear there, but I guess they swap between the different ones, because we can see another one in the background here that also doesn't have them. Another thing we see is this recharging station with 2 happening spaces. It's unclear what this does, if you have some sort of charge on your car, or if this will give you a supercharge, or if it just gives you an item, or something completely different. There's also this shop in the background with a Koopa. This, I assume, is just a basic item shop. It has no happening space, you just sort of walk up to it. Now, once we're over here, we can see this launch pad back here that has happening spaces and is also glowing purple. I assume this means that these are turned on and off infrequently or on a cycle, or maybe they're activated by some other happening space. I assume these launch pads will just launch you back to the beginning and maybe you'll lose some coins, or maybe they'll launch you to another player. The map also shows 4 flags, which seem to correspond to the 4 cars here. This could just be a coincidence, but I assume these are the 4 players on the board. We then get this shot which shows Toad using quadruple dice or turbo dice to go up to 40 spaces. Now, it's unclear if this is an item specific to this board, or if you can use it on other boards, but it does seem to skip this Boo House over here, which likely means it works similar to the Mega Mushroom in Mario Party 4, where you move really far, but you skip over event spaces. We also get another view of the HUD here. This shows that there is a specific home stretch signifier here. It also shows Bowser Jr. has a triple dice, which will work the same as Mario Party Superstars. And Waluigi has this different item that we've never seen before. It has a yellow coin-looking thing on it, and what appears to be the number 73, but it is very low resolution, so I'm not sure. These happening spaces on the launch pad are also lit up green, which is different than the purple earlier. I'm not sure if these are just random colors, or if they indicate specific players, or specific parts of the board, or maybe they mean the launch pad works differently. I'm not sure. We then get this large shot of Goomba Lagoon, which is a beach-themed level. This one's main gimmick is that these sandy areas get covered in water. Now, this could be on a cycle, or it could be triggered by something, but either way it means you can't walk there. It's unclear what happens if you're in the sand when it happens, but I'd assume you get brought back to the start and lose some coins. You'll notice these grappling hook stations, which you activate by landing on a happening space that will bring you to the lower islands near the volcano. This is probably just to make it easier to move around when the sand is flooded, but they're also useful whenever. Now, some notable things on this map are these 2 item shops and this purple item shop here, as well as these 2 masts that seem to show Boo on them. There's these 2 happening spaces that trigger these 5 treasure chests. I assume this is a minigame where you either have to pick one of 5 and you get a star if you get it right, or you see which one has a star and it shuffles them and you have to pick the right one. Or it also could be coins. There's also this section of the dock, which is triggered by 2 happening spaces. This is likely some sort of minigame, maybe related to fishing, since we can see 2 Cheep Cheeps there, that could reward you with a star or an item or coins. If you look at the volcano, it is not triggered by a happening space. It is triggered by just you walking past it. It appears to be pretty easy to avoid if you don't want to go there, as long as you don't go on the left half of the map, but it's unclear if your goal is to go there or not. Later we see Luigi here, who has triggered it, which blows dozens of golden Goombas into the sky, who will, I assume, land on the map. Since these are golden, they likely are related to coins or stars. It's unclear what these do. Maybe they spawn coins or a star on the board. Maybe they harm you in some way. But like I said earlier, it's unclear if your goal is to go to the volcano or not. We then have this shot of all of the brand new boards. The Goomba Lagoon and Rainbow Gallery pictures don't show anything new, but the Roll'em Raceway one does show the full map, which confirms that that small map we saw was the full board. The only new thing I noticed was this dirt road on the top left, which could be some sort of car that comes on the board, maybe harms you, maybe helps you, I'm not sure. Or it could be purely decorative. But we also see these two brand new boards which we have not seen yet. The one on the left is pretty simple and the one on the right is very complicated, so I'll start with the left one. This is Mega Wiggler's Tree Party. The main gimmick is that you can hop on the Wiggler on these leaves and walk around him to the other side. Now these platforms on top of him with the spaces on them, it's unclear if those are just floating platforms, that's how they look, or if that's some effect of them changing. The Wiggler clearly moves around, which I assume is triggered by these bells which you see around the map. We sadly can't see the very bottom of the map, but I assume it is just a loop that goes from the right to the left. Another notable thing are these two piranha plants on either side of the board, which each have 2 happening spaces. Now, these could trigger multiple things. They could steal something from you, maybe a star or an item. You could hire them to steal from other people, or maybe they'll shoot you to the other side of the map. There is a purple shop in the top right, which likely means there is a yellow shop in the bottom part that we can't see. There is also this jar on the top part, which I assume will get filled up with fruit or some other substance over the course of the game, possibly could interact with the Wiggler or the piranha plants. Now on to King Bowser's Keep, which is the most complicated board. So this board starts at the bottom and goes straight up, which could imply this is a linear board, or possibly you go up into the loop, but I would assume this is sort of linear, but you can go back to the start. To the immediate right, you can see a pipe of some sort, with possibly a happening space to the left of it. Now there are some other similar looking pipes throughout the level, so these could be a form of travel, and possibly a way to get back to the beginning. Now to the left here, we have a treasure chest looking thing. I believe this is actually a shop, because we have a light colored one later, which could mean that these are the Kamek shop and the Koopa shop. Or maybe there's something else, I can't really tell. Now coming up, there's a fork in the road going to 2 either elevators or launch pads or something that will bring you up to the top here, which is a loop, but it seems to swap directions because there are these large arrows, which I assume will spin if something happens. And if you happen to be going in the right or wrong direction, you will land on Bowser, and I assume just step back onto this red platform here and do something with Bowser. Maybe he'll steal something from you. I don't know. So here there is another fork. You can either go right out of the loop on this side or left on this side. I'll start with right. You can see a small Mecha Koopa here. I say small because there is a quite large one up here who you can probably interact with. Maybe he will spin the loop or interact with Bowser or something like that. After him, you can turn right onto this little section here, which has this purple building attended by possibly a Dry Bones or some other NPC. There's also a crane here, but it's unclear if this interacts with that or not. We then go to another fork. It's unclear what direction you can go here, possibly just to the right or maybe to the left or maybe forwards. But let's say you go to the right, you will reach another fork which can let you loop back around to where you are now. Or you can go to the right, which is a dead end, which could mean it brings you back to the start or to somewhere else. There is also this gate-looking thing, so there might be something behind there. Now let's go back to where Bowser is, and if you go left instead, you will see this purple face-looking thing. with 3 symbols above, to the left, and to the right of it. I have no idea what this could be. There's nothing that really looks like it. If you continue, you will see this possibly shop, and also a pipe up here, which could link to the starting one. And if you go straight up here onto this red pathway, there are 2 holes or cannons or pipes of some sort here, which could simply link to each other, or they could do something more interesting. Now, right above that, there is some sort of sign, possibly, but this could also just be a background element. If you go a bit to the right, you seem to be able to go in this pathway here to what could be another pipe connecting to the other 2 we see, but could also be something else, or again, just background. And finally, we see this large Mecha Koopa. I have no idea what this could do. It could interact with this small one down here, or it could do something completely different. Maybe it's an enemy, maybe it's a shop of some sort. But yeah, that is King Bowser's Keep. This is the most interesting looking board to me because it seems very complicated. I'm excited to see how everything works, or even just see a high resolution version of it in future trailers. But anyways, let's move on to the next scene. Here we see the 2 retro boards. We get another look at Mario's Rainbow Castle, and our first look at Western Land. Now again, I'm not an expert on these, but they appear to be pretty similar, besides a shop being added on both. And something that's interesting is the skeleton key doors still appear on Western Land, despite not appearing in any of the other boards in this game. This could imply that there are specific items for all of the boards, or maybe some of them, but we have yet to see. And for the latter half of the trailer, we have a look at some minigames and extra modes. First of all, we start with this one that appears to be on a rotating platform, where you have to jump over boos, dodge walls, and this chain chomp while staying in between the electricity. We then see a Yoshi race, where you have to race to the end of the challenge. In this one, there is this fruit off to the left, which I assume will just be a basic speed boost. It's unclear if this will just be a race about getting boosts and efficient lines, or if there will be parkour involved. But there is an indicator in the middle of how far everyone is, and who's in first and last and whatnot. There's then this minigame which seems to have 8 players, but only one of them being you. Now, I believe this is an 8-player co-op mode, and I have multiple reasons to believe this. If it specifies that one person is you, and not 4 people are players, then this is likely an online mode with 8 people. But there's also this rank in the top right. Now, this rank system appeared in Super Mario Party in the river rafting mode, which was a 4-player co-op. And in this minigame, they appear to be working together to assemble this long picture. And from the light indicator in the top, there appear to be 4 of them they have to do. And there is also these lights counting down to when they have no time left, which means they only have about 20 seconds to do all this, which is interesting. We then see a minigame where you have to hit nails with a hammer. This, I assume, is very similar to the abundance of minigames in Super Mario Party that are just do a specific motion control action, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I mean, they worked okay and they were pretty fun. Now, one thing that is pretty cool is the Goomba has a little platform here, because he's not tall. So that's pretty cool. The nails also seem to be in a cascading pattern going up and down. So this could mean you have to change your strategy as you go, or maybe they just take a bit longer to hit. The next one is a mini golf minigame, where you have to tilt your Joy-Con to move the ball into the hole, and it looks like whoever gets the most points wins. And it looks like first place gets 5 points, second place probably gets 3 points, followed by 1 point, followed by 0 points, and whoever has the most points after 3 or maybe 5 games wins. These sort of gyro mini games worked pretty well in Super Mario Party, so hopefully they do here as well. This next one appears to be a mashing game. It's unclear if there's a rhythm you have to follow, or if you literally just mash. It is a 2v2 game, so you could have to sync up your movements, but hopefully there's not too many spam games, but I am glad there's at least one. This next one appears to be one of the simpler mini games. It's a 1v3 where one person is in a bonsai bill, the other 3 people are just running around. The goal is likely just to hit everyone, similar to the bowl over game in the early Mario parties. Next is not a mini game, but a new mode, the Cathlon. This is an online 20-player mode where you compete in mini games to get coins, and every coin you get
transfers to one move on this massive board where you have to make a few laps. These could be normal minigames adjusted for coins. They could be brand new minigames for the Cathlon mode, or they could simply be coin minigames. Those are a thing. Okay, I completely forgot to analyze these earlier, but it shows two minigames part of the Cathlon mode. The first one is just you zipping down this line with coins on it, and each coin equates to movement. And the second one has you pushing off these various blocks and stuff, which result in different numbers of coins, similar to some arcade games that exist. We can see here the board is very simple. It's just a loop. You go around in this nice little town. After that is this massive Bowser attack minigame, which could be a final boss for this mode, but I'm not sure how that would interact with the rest of it, because it appears to be an elimination game, similar to something like Fall Guys, but I'm not sure. This next minigame is likely a minigame in the 8-player co-op mode I mentioned before, though it does seem to have a rhythm element, which could imply it as part of the rhythm mode, which we'll see more in a second. After this, we have not a minigame, but a separate mode. I know this because it appears on the main sort of islands that we saw earlier. There's a few interesting things here. First of all, there are 3 players here, which is interesting because usually it's 4, but this could just be 3 people playing. Mario and Luigi are flying Peach and following this arrow to some sort of objective. There are some interesting things here, like this wind gun on the left, which will likely just fly you up. There's these colored blocks, which I have no idea what they could do, but there is basically 2 blue ones connected by outlines of blocks, and then 2 red ones connected by outlines of blocks. So maybe they'll fill in the outlines with blocks or something like that. There's also these 2 stacks of what appear to be Goombas, one of which is on the volcano. So these could be one of the objectives you have to do. Maybe you have to deliver Goombas somewhere. Next we see a rhythm game. Now I know this is part of the rhythm mode because it shows the nice early and late indicators. This one has you cutting eggplants and maybe other vegetables, I don't know, to the rhythm as you add them to a soup or stew. It has an indicator on the right of how long the game has until it ends, basically, or how full the soup is, I guess. And it also has these cool platforms made of cork for the different heights. Next we see this massive battle against Bowser. This is played online and could be part of other modes such as the 8-player multiplayer or the Cathlon, or it could be its own. I personally think it's its own thing because we saw a similar looking city in the opening cutscene. So this could be a sort of Bowser attack mode. You can see there are bombs in this cannon that you can shoot at Bowser, but also it says round 1, and the time limit, interestingly, is not moving while you're shooting. So this could imply that you have to run around the city to get bombs or something else. Bowser also appears to have 3 phases, or this could just be a design of the health bar. But yeah, I guess that's the analysis. There were 2 unique scenes shown after this trailer in the Direct, but they didn't show us anything new. It was just a slightly higher resolution version of the Wiggler map, and another one of all the characters together. Now for this video, I tried not to watch any other analysis videos to keep my own opinions as my own opinions, but I will link a few other analysis videos if you want to look at those and maybe see stuff I missed or just different opinions on stuff. This was personally really fun to make, and I'm very excited for this game to come out. If you want me to make more Nintendo content or maybe do another analysis of a trailer, make sure to like the video and comment your ideas, and join my Discord server where you can drop your suggestions there where I'm guaranteed to see them. But anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.